I think that by making music and family together, that sort of like catapulted my interest to get even better. Although I was the first professional musician in the family because everybody else was like a hobby, mainly. But they were all composers and they were writing popular music and they were writing boleros and merengues and my aunt was classical teacher, piano teacher. So I had it from both ends and that was very important for my career development because there was never this thing about are you classical or are you popular or are you jazz or are you this or are you that. For me, it's all music. I never differentiate between one and the other, and that has been very good because now I come in and out of any world I want. I do world beat, I do classical, I do jazz, I do everything, film music, you name it. So for me, it's all music, and it's important that there are no barriers. I think we are in the 21st century, and everything is possible. So that's the important thing, you know. Never let anybody tell you you cannot do this or you cannot do that. Maybe that's why I call one of my first songs "Why Not," because it's my philosophy in life. I never take no for an answer. I always see it as a new challenge, and that way it's an opportunity to grow and to develop and to become better and open your eyes, open your ears. Ever since I can remember, it was my toy. You know, it was never really. I was never made to practice or to go there. For me, it was coming from school and just go directly to the piano and make sounds and discover sounds. You know, and that's the beauty of music making. You never really. I never felt like I had to practice. On the contrary, I knew it was fun to practice. So the fun aspect of it is very important. I always say that there is the greatest word is play, because you're playing with the instrument, but you're also playing the instrument. So that is what becomes fun as you discover yourself through your music and who you are, or what you can contribute to the continuum. But think of a key as bow and arrow, where you're holding the actual string with a finger, and you let the piano play for you, as opposed to going down on it and going up on it. When I want to play something really, very subtle, in other words, what Chopin used to call la souplesse, the subtlety in your touch. Um, the main thing, another concept that we're doing for a long, long time in the Latin jazz world, you either did a composition in one clave or you did it in another. You never mixed both. That has been thrown out the window. Now we switch them at will. As long as you switch them consciously and you switch them with intention. Because we want it to be jazzy. So in other words, I was dealing with chord changes, and if it gets developed to a montuno that goes like this. And then there I am what I'm doing is by making all those accents, I am turning the clave around so that I will land to a 2-3 clave. You see, the other thing was right? And then going out of it by making the groups of fives and sevens in the middle and changing the accents is a way of creating a little bit of confusion, so I can turn the clave around. So I do it to give it to the bass solo, which he we're gonna go for this kind of montuno. He's gonna go to this. Now that is already in the other clave. So it changes the whole thing. You see that? So I sometimes start just with the bass line. Sometimes a simple bass line. Like that's why sometimes maybe I started today even with the bass lines. It's. You know, this this is the way I wrote this one. And then started experimenting with chords on top. All kinds of possibilities. The bass line will give you something. You get to know a lot by writing film soundtracks. What we talked at the beginning of today, the message behind the notes becomes even more important, because it's an art to be there and not be there. Sometimes you don't want the music to be there. You just want the reference subliminally. I divide the whole melody, this melody based on this chord, right? These two progressions, and then the variations thereof. And then that's how you tailor the whole soundtrack. And the reprises are very important in different keys, different moods, different, overt, not overt, intimate. And the orchestration has a lot to do with it as well. I would say I always talk about a Y, like a letter Y. That's the way the career happens. You always are facing decisions. You can do this or you can do that. And you have to make the right decisions. How do you know? In reality, there's no way of making the right decision. The basic premise is do the one that appeals the most to you at the moment. In other words, the one that makes you feel the best about yourself. It may not make the other people feel good, because nobody wants to be told, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. But the basic thing is try to project yourself after you immerse in the new project and see if you're going to feel good about what you did with it. And that's the answer. You have your answer yourself. You're always getting into new projects. You're taking risks. Some of them may be successful, some of them may not, but at least you try. You try your best, and that's the important thing. So that's like, yeah, thanks. Yeah.